Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up this afternoon, economist Dr. Yamson casts doubts over World Bank's projection on Ghana's economy recovering by 2025, insisting government is not ready for the strict adjustment that will move the country to a new level.
Has to partner the private sector in a practical way to rebuild this economy. And for me, until such time that sinks into the minds of our politicians, we're going nowhere.
Ahead of the media budget, former president of the Ghana Association of Banks, Al-Hassan Andani, expects government to implement policies to improve the banking sector post-DDP.
The media budget should be coming out with policies as to how government is improving its credit posture, its credit, reliability, so that people can see some regrades.
And ransomware attacks on businesses and individuals on the rise here in Africa. We'll learn about what havoc that is causing and how you can protect your business. My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. And thanks for staying with us, everyone. First up, economist Dr. Yamson is casting doubts over the World Bank's projection of Ghana's economy recovering by 2025. The business strategist says he doesn't think that government is prepared to undertake the strict reforms that could help Ghana achieve the feat. In 2 years, Dr. Yamson has been speaking on PM Express Business Edition.
Even in the last month or so, you would have seen a plethora of taxes, new taxes that have been imposed. On who? On the companies and individuals who are supposed to rebuild the economy. Unless they say government is the one going to rebuild the economy. But I know, and I'm sure you know, that government does not have the funds to rebuild this economy. That government has to partner the private sector in a practical way, very practical way, to rebuild this economy. And for me, until such time that sinks into the minds of our politicians, we're going nowhere. For instance, you just said something very interesting.
Austerity,
the government, I have heard many things that have been said. We have placed emphasis on raising revenue. I haven't heard, particularly from government, what exactly they are going to do to cut expenditure, from which areas and by how much. We know that our problem has been that all over these years we have spent more than we have raised by way of revenue. People always tell us, oh, but Ghana is not raising enough revenue. The GRA revenue figure will show you that they have been growing around 17% over the last 5 years per annum. So if we are still in a crisis, then it means that the bigger issue is the expenditure that government undertakes. Because if you look at the graph, and we did it 3 days or so ago, since 1992, we've never run a balanced budget. Not even to say that a balance with a surplus. So it means that we have consistently spent more than the revenue we raised. And why? And I can give you 100 reasons why, and that's why I say the bank will be robust, and the fund will be robust, and all these guys will be robust, and hope that the government will do what they promise that they are going to do. But until I see it happen, I don't believe that by 2025 this economy will be showing any great signs of full recovery.
Well, you had the economist, Dr. Yamson, casting doubt about government's commitment to fiscal reforms just 3 days before the media budget is read. Joining me on Zoom is Kwawu, who is Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon to you. And so, like I indicated, in 3 days, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, will present the media budget. We are told not to expect a supplementary budget, but the likes of Dr. Yamson are skeptical government is prepared to undertake strict economic reforms which will propel us to attain economic recovery in 2 years, like the World Bank projects. Your take?
Right. Thank you very much. I think I would have to agree with the learned economist that for us to propel the economic development of the country, we need to take some tough decisions that will inure to the benefit of the country. That we need to cut down expenditure, raise enough revenue. If we are not raising the revenue, but our expenditure is always going up, it means that we are not going to work. Over the years, government has been having talk shows, workshops that are not practically implemented. The private sector, we've been told, is the engine of growth. But then the government partnering with private sector turned out not to be something that is working, especially in the area of one district, one factory. And so if we continue putting more tax on the already burdened individuals and businesses that we have in the country, then that development will not work. And we have been calling for practical steps to ensure that the things that we talk about are really working, but we don't see that happening.
Well, yesterday, my colleague Pius Kujubaka spoke with economist Professor Lord Mensah, who also expressed doubt government would be fiscally prudent in 2024, arguing this is due to the IMF social intervention policies. Take a listen to him, and then I'll get your reaction.
Being that, you see, the IMF program we find ourselves in does not grow down to the point where it will do possible allocations for us. And then also, if you look at the programs seem to have some soft spot for the vulnerable, the social policies. And most of the time, if government wants to hide its expenditure, it runs it through the social policies. So from where I sit, I don't think, 2024 will be anything different from the previous election years. We're going to see more spending because government will be tempted to hide behind social, policies to spend.
Even when we have the IMF on board?
Oh yes, because the IMF on board, the program says that they're going to, make sure the vulnerable is comfortable in the program. So if leap and they try to spread money, overboard, what will you say? If it is leap, yes, they're giving money to vulnerable and then they go overboard. You don't have control because in the program, vulnerable needs to be protected. And I'm telling you that is where government has been hiding over the years to spend unnecessarily when we're getting into elections.
Are those legitimate points? He also raises the point about next year being an election year and government likely to spend more, Sarah.
Yeah, those points are legitimate. They are things that we have seen over the period. We had 2 by-elections and we've seen expenditure that has occurred over the time. And so myself, I do not think that government would reduce the expenditure, especially in the election year. We have already seen government appointees moving around the country, campaigning to be elected as flag bearer of their various parties. And if you look at the convoy and the expenditure that these individuals undertake over time, is worrying, and it will be more worrying in the election year 2024. But what will happen is that, yes, there will be a kind of control over the expenditure that will be done. But as Prof. Lord Mensah said, government can hide behind the social intervention policies and spend. Free SHS is there. They can use some of these things. LEAP, and then you don't know the beneficiaries of LEAP and how they receive the money. And so we still need to monitor government. And if we really have our country, Ghana, at heart, then we need to come out with programs that will benefit the country. The private sector can be partnered in doing some of the things.
The finance minister say on Monday.
Come again, please.
I was asking what else you expect to hear the finance minister say on Monday when he presents the media budget.
Oh, okay. So he will just tell us what they have done throughout the period, give us an update on the revenue that they have collected. I expect him to tell us about the steps that they have taken to ensure that they reach a debt restructuring agreement with the external creditors. If there are new projects that they want to undertake, then he would tell us during the budget review. But then I really do not expect anything new than what they've been telling us over time and what we know in terms of the inflation, the policy rate from the Bank of Ghana, and how the exchange rate has been controlled, the steps that they are taking to make sure that these things also remain stable over time, especially the economic indicators.
It's interesting you bring up the external debt restructuring because First Solutions is projecting Ghana to reach a deal with external creditors in the second quarter of next year. That may be quicker than how long it took Zambia. Do you see that happening, and what would that mean for us?
So that is going to happen. It's going to happen because of the goodwill that we are enjoying with the external creditors when they actually gave us the go-ahead to get the IMF deal. And looking at that particular period and the actions, we have seen the second domestic restructuring taking place with the cocoa bills. And if that is done, then we can also look at the external creditors. And government might be committed in making sure that they get that particular deal very early in order for the country to try and go back to the international financial market. And so the deal, it will happen, but then once it happened, it's going to make sure that our cedi depreciation will be slowed down. There will be enough confidence in the Ghanaian economy. And then the perception about investors, about Ghana being a weak country when it comes to investment, some of these things will slow down. I'm also foreseeing a situation where next time Ghana government is going for a loan from these international borrowers, restructuring and all those things will be part of the loan agreement they sign.
All right. Sarah Mkawa, thank you so much. Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Grateful you could join us on the marketplace. Well, still on the media budget, former president of the Ghana Association of Banks, Alhassan Andani, says he expects government to implement policies to improve the banking sector. According to him, more confidence is needed within the financial space post the domestic debt exchange program. Hence, government and the central bank must be proactive in saving the sector. He spoke to Joy Business.
Expectation out of the media review is for government to do whatever they can to build confidence around their own paper, which banks hold in large quantities and which is impacting the balance sheets of banks and also companies that have invested in this. So for me, the media budget should be coming out with policies as to how government is improving its credit posture, its credit, reliability, so that people can see some regrades, of the write-downs that they have taken in terms of the defaults that we've witnessed in the last 24 months.
Now, Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, is asking banks to support other sectors of the economy as they gradually bounce back. According to him, profitability of local banks should complement the efforts of other sectors to drive economic growth.
It is the banks returning to profitability is simply from the DDEP. But for the DDEP, banks in Ghana have been one of the most comfortable entities when it comes to reporting in terms of profit. It is just for this DDEP. So now that we are gradually getting out of the DDEP, banks are going to go back to their pre-DDEP performance, which has been profit. Look, you can look at the bank's performance, and for almost 15, 20 years, there has not been a loss. That is what the banks normally report. So the DDEP was just a one-off event, what we call low frequency, high impact event that affected the banking sector. But the banks will recover, and very soon we are going to see profit level. The issue is, how does it translate into the other sectors of the economy? You see, if the banks are the ones making all the profits, but then the other sectors of the economy are not making good returns on their investment, then you also say there's a disconnect, because the banks do business with the other sectors of the economy. So how come the banks are reporting good profits and the other sectors of the economy are complaining? That is a disconnect that we need to look at and see how best we can address that. So that it's not only the banks, but then the banks together with the other sectors of the economy also report good profits going forward.
You're watching The Marketplace. Next to news of ransomware attacks happening in the wild, and many African firms have fallen victim. One of the latest victims is Glo Nigeria. We're told hackers have stolen 600 gigabytes of information and have encrypted all their systems. Joining me with more is Daniel Kwekuntiamwadai, who is an expert in cybersecurity, digital forensics, forensic investigation, and audit. Good afternoon to you, Daniel. Great to have you on The Marketplace. How popular are these attacks, and what is the nature of the attacks?
Daryl.
Hi.
Yes. So ransomware has been very impactful this year. Within the last 30 days, we've seen about 827 attacks across the world, and then 40% of these attacks has been to Africa. We've also seen about 2,000 attacks this year, and that is why we as Cybertech, we think it's very critical that we raise an awareness or something towards this.
Kind of havoc do these attacks have on businesses? What do businesses stand to lose when they're attacked?
You lose practically everything. You see, data is what fuels businesses right now. And then for ransomware attackers or hackers, what they want to get access to is your data, because they think your business value is really around your data. So what they do is that we have something called the triple extortion. They first steal your data, which in the case of Glo, they store about 600 gigabytes of data. Then they encrypt your whole systems, basically your operational systems, a system that, if let's say for a telco, your mobile money systems, your core systems, your network systems, and everything. And then now they tell you that, see, come and pay, and then we'll give you back your data. Else we will publish it out to the public. And then for companies, they know the value of the data that they have, and then the impact that it will fall on them if this data should fall in the public. So what ransomware actors do is that, should the company decide not to pay, which according to the security agencies, it's not good, it's not right for companies to pay for ransomware attacks, because what they do is that they intend to fund these ransomware groups. So what happens is that if you don't pay, they put your data out. So, but some companies still pay, and then the impact will be that you're going to really suffer a huge revenue loss. If the data is being leaked to the public, it means that your reputation is going to be sabotaged in terms of your customers it's going to cause some level of fear and panic among your customers, and then most of them begin to either, let's say for a bank, they begin to withdraw or close their accounts here and there. So you suffer a very great loss.
Oh, this is crazy. Daniel, talk to me a bit more about the lapses in the system the hackers are taking advantage of.
See, companies are not allocating budget for cybersecurity, and for us, it's a great worry. Yes, we know that the economic times that we are in is very difficult for them to raise revenues here and there. But what will it profit you if you're raising revenue and then suddenly you have a very huge ransomware attack and then your business basically collapses? See, according to statistics, about 60% of startups startup businesses collapse when they are being hit with a ransomware, and this is very critical for us. And if you look at the whole landscape, you realize that it is just because businesses are not allocating budget for cybersecurity. We spoke to a lot of businesses within the past couple of months. We realized that they seem to be focusing on revenue for themselves, because obviously taxes here and there, and then they've been a slowdown. But I bet you that a lot of companies in Ghana, in Nigeria, in the West Africa region are suffering from ransomware attacks. And the bad thing also is that they don't usually report it. According to law, according to our cybersecurity law, according to the Bank of Ghana directive, and then across border, you are supposed to report cyber attacks when you are being hit, but most of the companies don't report it, and which is a great worry. And then you're also supposed to send at least an alert to your customers, just so that if maybe they have some account, maybe some online banking account with you and all, they can change it as soon as possible. But because these companies know the laws in terms of the reputational damage and all that will hit them, so they intend to keep it silent and keep quiet about it. And this is really not good for their customers, for their clients, and then for the company itself.
Some companies wouldn't report because of reputational damage. Is it also the case that some don't even know about this at all?
Yes. So according to a report from Mandiant is the cybersecurity firm of Google. Last year they had about 60% of their attacks were attacks that they worked on, or they responded to. The notification came to those companies through external sources. So it means that most of the companies don't even know that they've been hit or they've been attacked. So they sometimes it's just maybe the security agencies or companies like Cybertech who we have threat intelligence feeds. We feed information coming from the dark web, from the deep web and all. And then what we do is that we submit it to the clients or the companies that are being hit. And so through this notification or this alert that we send to some of the companies, that is when some of the companies even now come to realize that they've been attacked. And it's simple. The main reason why they've been attacked is because they are not putting controls in place to secure their systems, to secure their Active Directory, to be changing passwords or credentials every 3 months, to have a backup policy. They don't have it. And some of these companies really are not helping their clients or their customers, because in this case, in the case of Globacom, the hackers have reported that they have about 600 gigabytes of data, and these data span across financial details, client information, customer information, and this customer information are basically the personal identifiable information of each customer. And so what it means is that if they've given the Glo up to 29th, and then if Glo doesn't pay the ransom that they are requesting for, they put all of this information out. It means that if they put it out, someone like me, I can go and fetch this information and then be able to have access to the customer data of each client, each customer of Globacom. And this includes their national ID information, their personal data and everything. And this is serious. This is very serious.
So how can businesses protect themselves?
Businesses really have to sit down and then look at their cyber risk profile. Look at their systems that are very critical to their business operation. An example is if let's say you are a telco, and then you know that your revenue streams in terms of your business lines. You know that there are some systems or servers that operate on those lines. So let's say one of the ways the telecom companies drive revenue is through mobile money, and then obviously they get their percentage on the transaction. So this mobile money server has to be available at any point to serve the customers or the clients that are trying to reach the systems. The problem is that if they want to secure that particular business line, they have to be able to do an assessment or what you call a testing on the system to see all the loopholes or weaknesses, what we call vulnerabilities on the system. And then after identifying these vulnerabilities, they're able to basically patch these vulnerabilities or talk to a cybersecurity company. They will assign a vulnerability remediator or what they call the defensive security experts to be able to come and assist you to resolve most of these vulnerabilities. See, for a business, every public-facing system, let's say your web applications, your emails, and other accounts are basically the entry point onto your system. So what you have to do is you have to look at your attack vectors. Attack vectors are basically the entries onto your system. Then know how you will be able to block these attack vectors from external people who are not supposed to come onto your system. So just talk to a cybersecurity company. They will come in from they will help you from penetration testing to vulnerability assessment, to putting in some risk methods or risk controls to be able to help you to be able to patch every weakness or vulnerability on your system.
Okay, thank you so much. Great to speak with you, Daniel Intiamwadai, cybersecurity expert. I appreciate your time with us. And that's the marketplace, everyone. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We will be back next week. Do stay tuned.